be strong in this time, son. I'm a survivor. I will survive. I will survive. And I'm a firm believer. We'll forever strive just to stay alive. That simple means it. Nobody can hold me, man. Nobody can change my energy. Nobody can control me stick. I will not allow negativity. Nobody can hold me, man. Nobody can change my energy. Nobody can. Nobody can. Everybody show me some strength. No weakness. Show me a little power. Strength. No weakness. Show them who we are. Strength. No weakness. Show me a little power. Everybody strength. No weakness. Show them who we are. My friend, you're all. Your enemies, they must tremble. Your enemies, they must tremble. Yo, my friend, you're all. Everything has to humble. Everything has to humble. I'm a go-getter. I just go hard. I just go hard. And I'm a kind of fella. Put my trust in God. Put my trust in God. That's simple means it.
Let's face it, this is not normal times, but life, it must go on. And with all these continued restrictions on get-togethers, you need a streaming company like Ridealong Media Group LLC, one that can stream to all your family members to the comfort of their own homes, both privately or publicly, you decide. One who understands your privacy, one who simply cares. So for that wedding, funeral, public or private event, choose the professional production company with the experience and quality guaranteed. Family can travel? Inquire about our seamless remote participant option. Thinking of streaming your virtual event? We handle it all. From multi-camera video production to streaming, post-production, editing and more via Zoom, YouTube, Facebook or any platform required. Call us and speak to our experienced professional team. 212-809-4324. That's 212-809-4324. Ridealong Media Group LLC. We're here when you need us.
You gotta be strong in this time, son. I'm a survivor.
Ride along, riders. Welcome to the ride. Welcome to the ride. Welcome to Tuesday on the ride. Tuesday on the ride. It's gonna be a bumpy ride. Put on your seatbelts. I'm lying. It's not gonna be a bumpy ride. In fact, it's gonna be smooth. Smooth rides, real vibes. How you guys doing today? Listen, from the giddy up, I want to tell you guys, right? I want you guys to lock in the phone number into your phone because this is the show you guys have to participate and chat and communicate because this is a very opinionated program. Today's program is very opinionated. So bring in all your opinionated friends, people who have a point of view. We want everybody. We want everybody. So as you come in, just say I share. Share the program and say I share. I'm doing it as well. Share the program and say I share. To me, let me see who's first. Who's first up today? Lacey J. Look at that. Lacey J never been first since never. Lacey J is like never first. Lydia James, how you doing? Hey, big up yourself, Lydia James. Lacey J. I share. Big up yourself. Is Tamara Pope? How you doing? Is Tamara Pope? Strength, no weakness. Larissa. All right, guys. This is where we do the roll call, right? And we're making the roll call short today because, as I said, this is going to be an opinionated program. Very opinionated, right? All right. And as we say, there is no right and wrong when it comes to your opinion. Is all what you feel and what you believe. So I can disagree if you have an opinion about something. That's how you feel and that's how you believe. Okay? All right, let's go. Roll call. Roll call time. Everybody press your flag. Press your flag. Represent for your flag. Represent for your flag. Peter, where your flag? Where your flag? Where your flag? Who you representing for? Where you representing? Darren Lang. Oh Lord, Bacchanal. No Bacchanal today, guys. No Bacchanal today. Where you flag? Where you flag? Fitzroy Adams. Where you representing? Where you representing from? Where you representing from? Put up your flag and say I share. Good evening, Christian. I share Ronald Cornwall. Big up yourself. Thank you so much. Big up yourself. Big up yourself. Thank you so much. Hey, Lacey J representing Grenada. Narisa representing Canada and Grenada. Alan Service. Nutmeg Badness. Big up yourself. Folks representing for Canada, Grenada, United States, the UK. Carolyn Joseph, you just reached. You just reached Grenada. What the Trini? What the Lucian? Now, if we have to have Lucian, we have to have Trinidadians, we have to have Jamaicans. Hey, okay, there we go. Shama Charles Martin representing for Toronto and Trinidad. Grenada, USA, Grenada, USA, USA, Grenada. Mavis, I see you. Darren Linton, Grenada, and the US. Aisha, Grenada. Where the Trinis? I ain't seen the Trinis today. Wait, where the Trinis? Cameron! How you doing, Cameron? Big up yourself, big up yourself. Alright, guys. That was a good roll call. But listen, I ain't seen them Trinis, I ain't seen them Jamaicans. That's no good. Yeah, okay. Jeff John says, Junior, why you label him Badman? What make him a bad man? Come on, man. Listen, you see. Let me start this again. I didn't label him anything, right? The post asked a question: policeman or bad man? All right. That's why I want all you to come with all your opinion and defend or against. This is your program. So let me just say this. All right. Don't jump at me. Let me say this. Okay. Before we go further, let me introduce my first guest. We have 3 guests today. My first guest is an activist, and he is also a very active in the community, and he is a political figure as well. Most of you guys know him from doing his own show. He have a show as well, The Pursuit of Happiness. Sorry, not happiness. Oh Lord, Pursuit of Justice. Where the hell that came from? Pursuit of Happiness. And it airs right here on Facebook as well, where he deals with a lot of social, economical issues. Earl Maitland himself. Earl, welcome to the program. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm good, Junior. Thanks for having me. A pleasant good evening to all your guests.
Thank you. It's going to be an opinionated program today, Earl, because we supposed to have, and I'm still waiting on that confirmation, because 5 minutes before the program started, I got a call, and our guest, who is Troy, he is the civilian in the video. He had a slight emergency, but he's trying to sort that out, and then he's going to join us a little bit later on into the program. And also we have, from a legal mind, a legal perspective, we have Ruggles Ferguson, who is also going to be joining us in the 6:30 hour right here on the ride. All right, Earl, before we go further, introduce yourself a little bit. I know I didn't do you full justice, so you could just give them a little touch of who's Earl Maitland again.
That what you did was fine. I am Earl J. Maitland. I am a patriot of Grenada. I am a Grenadian citizen. I am one who intends to ensure that the taxes that I pay do deliver the services that are expected. Besides actually having commentary about police and situations of injustice, or what is perceived to be injustice, I actually interact with persons in the police force on almost a daily basis, right? So this, whatever is on Facebook, that does not determine, as some persons would say, that this person is a keyboard activist, whatever the case is. I actually get involved in the cases that I have, and I do have professional relationship with persons in the police force. We do have an understanding. I am one who has understood the importance of actually knowing the laws of Grenada so that a reasonable and factual opinion could be made in situations, right?
Right.
As you know, Junior, when you just started the program, someone said that you labeled somebody as a bad man. But if we look reasonably at the situation, you did in fact ask a question, and that question would have welcomed the opinions of persons based on their perception of what is happening. Too many times we have situations like that where persons do not look at things objectively or dispassionately. So they come to um, a conclusion which does not reflect reality. And that's one of the problems that we are having.
Yeah.
So once again, thank you for having me here.
Absolutely, Earl. Absolutely, Earl. Before we go any further, and to bring everything into proper context, I want to play back the video that we are going to be speaking about today. Again, guys, we expect to have Troy, who is the civilian in that video. Right before showtime, he had a slight emergency, so he had to run and pick something up to take it back to the hospital. But somewhere in that transition, we hope to get him so he could talk to us to give us his perspective on it as promoted. All right. But before we do that and speak about the subject matter, let's take a look at this video in the full extent. All right, the full extent of the video that was taped. We know that there are stuff that happened before, there probably stuff that happened after, but this is what we have to the long version of that video. Take a quick look, guys, and we'll talk about it on the other side. Check it out.
They got to go and get warrant and things. My police got to go and get warrant to stop man. They stop him right at the magistrate. Why you go and get one warrant and get away? So come on, Wally, calm down. I said, give him right. Come on, Wally. The right, come on.
I didn't leave.
I don't know my back. Alright?
Wally, calm down. You might say, give him right. They can't go and get one to come and arrest you. They take you to the option language to raise one on them. If they got a button in their show, they go in with you. Wally, they're calling the rest of men. Wally, calm down. They will call the rest of men.
And again, guys, this is the long version of the video. Keep looking.
My cool, you said, just see man down there, very suspect, you just do that.
That might be because they want to do it. I don't want him to do it. You don't touch my people. By Raja, we good. But when it comes to disrespect, I don't take no disrespect. I don't take no disrespect. We good. But I don't come and try to disrespect me. I'm trying to tell you, Mr. Man, I don't want to touch my vehicle. Don't hold it, don't hold it, don't hold it. Don't touch it, don't touch it. Am I right? Am I right? You don't touch my vehicle. Don't touch it. But you want to fight? You want to fight? You want to fight? Let me fight now. Beat up your ass here today, man.
Watch you, Wally.
But you can't shoot me, I don't have no weapon. I don't have no weapon. You can't shoot me. I don't have no weapon. But you can't shoot me.
Wally, they shoot
But you can't shoot me.
Wally, calm down, Wally, they shoot down and leave alone.
But you can't shoot me. I don't have no weapon. Nobody like me is on danger. I know the land just like you.
Wally, they are open, pull him down there, open. Pull up Wally in that team.
But you can't shoot me.
They shoot down and leave, right, go wrong, Wally.
You can't shoot me. You can't shoot me. I stand up right. You touch me. Don't touch my people. Don't touch my people.
They put Wally in that team. You got to go and get warrant, you got to go. They pulled it.
Am I right? Yes, I want to wear my vehicle.
Yo, they get ready to touch it. Just tell you come down with them.
I don't know that just like I know. You can't
You're
shoot
only
me.
pulling up in the scene. You know, they use for getting ready to sorting for drugs. And when they're sorting for drugs, if they can one make one to come and sort for drugs, they're sorting right away. Why go one get one to come and sort something?
I don't have a weapon.
Yeah, but you have to calm down, you have to calm down, you have to calm down. They drug squad. You have to calm down. They
All right. Okay. So we saw it together. This is the circulating video. Earl, I want you to tell me what's your thoughts immediately after looking at this video.
Well, let me start off firstly by saying that I do not have any problem with having police officers in the state of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. In fact, I do appreciate the services of the officers because it is important. And without having police officers here in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, there would be a lot of lawlessness. But it is our responsibility as law-abiding citizens that when we see something that can escalate or mutate into chaos, it is our responsibility as law-abiding citizens to call it out and to say exactly what it is. Now, after looking at the video, I noticed two things, Junior. The first thing is the gentleman in the beginning of the video that spoke about a warrant. Now, he does have some idea as it relates to the laws of Grenada. Then I noticed the gentleman whose vehicle apparently is being searched by the officers. That gentleman also apparently has some idea of what the laws of Grenada are. I noticed that his tone was very hype. You can clearly see from my opinion that this gentleman was a bit frustrated and he did not act the way that was expected from a citizen dealing with a police officer. I also noticed that as a reaction to that drama that took place there, the police officer lost his cool and he walked away from the gentleman. He turned his back, walked away from the gentleman, pulled his firearm, and he cranked it. He was also, at this point, we can see clearly here that the two other officers, they did not make any attempt to actually calm the civilian, but they made attempts to calm the officer who cranked the gun, their colleague. So that says to me, Junior, that the officers who were on the scene saw the threat being escalated on the part of the police officer who was there. Otherwise,
Let me just stick a pin right there, and I guess we could all agree that the war aggression, we see aggression on both sides, right? A lot of aggression from the civilian end. There clearly is some aggression coming from his end towards the police. The police, in turn, I don't know if he wanted to stay on top of take control of the situation, and expedite or increase his aggression a little bit, even above the aggression of the civilian, and that's why it escalated there. But we don't know what happened before, but we could agree right now that the war aggression coming from the civilian as equal as the war aggression coming from the police until he draws his firearm.
Yeah.
Could we agree?
I agree.
Okay, so go right ahead.
Right. So after that point, after the civilian was pointing his hand in the face of the police officer, he did make statement. He questioned the officer. He was saying, "You want to fight?" And then he made the threat of actually winning the fight. In words that I would not use, we can clearly hear there. I don't want to use any profanity over the program. The officer, after being calmed by his colleagues, walked back to the scene, pointed his hand in the face of the civilian, and he said to him that he was going to stand right here, and he was saying, what we heard. Touch me.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So clearly on both sides there was aggression, as you said. The responsibility of a police officer, we must first look at that, at what the responsibility of a police officer is. Now, in saying that, does that actually give persons the right to say that there is bias in the statement if one decides to take a particular approach, right? When we look at the laws of Grenada, especially, and that is one that was posted earlier, Junior, by myself, and that is Regulation 13, Part 2 of the Police Act, which speaks about police officers remaining calm in situations. And this would not allow it to escalate to anything that we would not want to see happening, to possibly the loss of life and so on. And we do expect our police officers to act professionally, especially in situations like these. The person in the initial phase of the video that is circulated, Junior, the person is speaking about warrants. The police need a warrant to search the vehicle.
Yes.
Sometimes we are hearing persons informing the public that the police need a warrant to arrest persons or to enter one's property and so on, or to search a vehicle that is on the road. And that is not correct. That is not correct. There are certain situations, as I'm sure you are aware, Junior, that the police do not need a warrant to get involved in situations like these.
Right. Right. So let's talk about him searching the vehicle. Again, guys, coming up in about 15 or 20 minutes, we're going to have Ruggles Ferguson, who's going to give us a full legal perspective on this. And we're still looking to hear from Troy, who is a civilian in that video, who should be speaking to us as soon as he take care of his emergency that he's going through right now. So we're looking forward to have that conversation with him hopefully later on. But coming up in about 20 minutes or so, we're going to have Ruggles Ferguson, who is a lawyer in Grenada, who's going to speak to us about the legal aspects of all of this. So the stop and search on the road right there, is it lawful, or was it carried out in a lawful way based on your perception or what you know and what you've seen in the video?
Well, Junior, based on what I'm seeing here, I do not have sufficient information to say if this search was lawful or not. Unfortunately, we do not have the gentleman or any of the officers here to speak to that. So what we can speak about is that the police officers actually have the authority under Section 24 of the Police Act to actually set road barriers and so on, which we would see around Christmas, Carnival, and so forth. Right? So given the circumstances, we are not aware if the police actually had a reasonable cause or reasonable suspicion to actually get into the man's vehicle.
Right.
We would have to hear that from them or from the gentleman. And given those facts, then we could come to a conclusion.
Yeah, because I guess that is the big question, right? Why didn't he just allow the police officer to conduct their job and search his or why didn't give him okay to search his property? Okay, so I did get a correspondent from Troy. He said that he'd call us in a few, so he'll be on the phone to explain that.
Okay.
So in a regular operation, should the police, or is the police in the due diligent right to open your vehicle and search your vehicle without your permission, based on the law of Grenada? Because I know you have a good handle on the law.
Right, and the answer to that is no. Right, and reasonable suspicion, Junior, would be, or reasonable cause would be having something in plain sight. For instance, if I had some form of narcotics, drugs, marijuana, anything illegal, a weapon or anything in plain sight in the vehicle, then the police would have reasonable cause to open the vehicle and search the vehicle because they would reasonably believe that I was about to commit a crime or I have already committed a crime. And part of their duties is to prevent and detect crime. It is to maintain the peace. All of these constitutional rights we do have, Junior. There are certain exemptions, as we can clearly see during this lockdown that we have here. We do have a constitutional right, freedom of movement throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, unmolested, but there are circumstances that would exempt these things. So on a normal day, if a police officer comes up to me, he has a right, whilst I'm operating a motor vehicle, he does have a right to ask for license and insurance, right? Now, upon asking for that, if he sees something that makes him reasonably believe that I'm about to commit a crime or I am in the process of committing a crime, then he has that authority without getting a warrant to search the vehicle right there. And
so Margaret McQueen is asking the question. So the police randomly could just stop on a civilian and search his private vehicle just like that?
Right. Now, so Ms. McQueen, what we are saying is that the police have a right to stop a motorist and to make sure that that motorist is operating on the nation's road with license and insurance, right? But there are circumstances that would allow the police to search your vehicle, and that would be if they have reasonable cause, and this is without warrant. Let us take, for instance, a police officer pulls you over for license and insurance, and then the officer sees some blood on the front seat or on the mat or in the back seat, or the officer sees a body which seems to be lifeless on the back seat or the front seat or wherever, then that police officer has reasonable cause or suspicion to believe that that person might be dead or that person has just been attacked or so forth, right? I hope that is a better explanation.
Yeah. You know, I want to open up the phone lines because I see a lot of comments flying through the chat and people have a lot of opinion. I said, guys, this program is going to be about how you view this and your opinion on it. All right. So we're going to open up the phone line right now. If you want to call, I want my moderators and them to pin the number as well. If you want to call in live, the number is 718-701-5720. That's 718-701-5720. We're looking at this video that was circulating on social media all yesterday. I probably got tagged on this video about 100 times, right? And there's no black and white to the law. I mean, it's either it was within the police jurisdiction to perform the stop and search, the search procedure, or it wasn't. And clarification would be held when we speak to the lawyer in a little bit. But this is kind of how people looking at it right now. Did the gentleman, the civilian, acted with too much passion and too much anger towards the police? Let's take this call on the WhatsApp. I'm not calling you live. We're calling us. Oh, hold on, caller. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Let me take the call on here first. Hold on, caller on the WhatsApp. Stand by. Caller, you live. Where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Canada, Junior.
Go right ahead, Canada.
And I just have I have a question, and I would like for Troy to answer when he joins you in the program.
Yes.
I just want to know if Troy and the police officer knows each other personally. That's my question.
Right.
I am assuming that they know each other personally.
Yes.
And I think that's where the misunderstanding comes in the midst of when the law has to take its course. I just want to be sure. I don't want to judge, but I would like for you to pose that question to Troy. If he and the police officers know each other personally, and if so, I think that's where the breakdown came from. All right, that's my opinion.
Thank you so much, caller. I appreciate your input. Let's jump on the WhatsApp, and I'm going to pose the question to Troy as soon as he comes in. Caller, you live? Where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from New York, Junior.
Go right ahead, caller.
Junior, as an ex-officer, I mean, I look at the video, but I've been through that already.
Uh-huh.
And a police have to have reasonable cause to such a vehicle.
Yes.
As long as you have reasonable cause to such a vehicle, there is nothing to stop him. But if thing want to escalate the whole thing when you watch the video, if you look at the video, the guy only wanted certain officer to search his vehicle.
Right.
You don't do that. An officer is an officer of the law.
Yes.
Leave him let him do his work. And too many times people bash the police for doing the job, and it's only when something escalates, then you hear they turn them out. Right is right. If he has relaxed himself, that will not escalate.
But officer, let me ask you a question. Is he in right to pull his weapon and crank his weapon at the civilian? Is that within his right?
Nah. You see, as an officer, you have to be very professional.
Right. Because that's not reasonable force. That's not reasonable force. There's no he's not the civilian didn't have a gun. He didn't pull his gun, and he had no right to pull his arm because it's excessive force on one side.
You see where the other officers lapse. They should come in. The other officer should come in when the guy steps in front of the other officer, threatening him.
Yes.
That's where they should come in. But then the other officer with the gun, he gets hot because you see, maybe his life feel threatened, but at the same time.
But how is his life feel threatened? How is his life feel threatened?
When I say that, I don't mean like in death wise. I mean like when the guy told him that he's gonna beat him. So maybe he feels that the guy bigger than him, so he's using the tool as an example. But you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be very professional.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's not you alone on the job. You have other guys.
Yeah. And he's there. He's holding the gun in his hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, this is.
You don't have to join a weapon there.
Now, and let me also add to the officer that's on the call.
The job there, right there.
Yes.
So that he can verify.
Manpower to calm down the other guy.
Right. I'll have a question for you, caller.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it is my understanding that based on justifiable force, police officers are issued not only with their uniforms, they actually have mace and batons, and these things are supposed to be used. The gun is supposed to be final option, right? Am I correct?
Yeah, you're right.
Right. Now, a gun is used for deadly force. It could be used for deadly force. We saw what happened to Bruce Briggs in 2016. He was shot in his leg by a police officer and he died. He passed away as a result of that. Now, as you said, there were two other officers on the scene, and they could have dealt with the situation differently so it would not reach where it got to. Now, naturally, police officers, and you, officer, you're calling from New York, I believe you said, from America?
Yeah.
Right. Now, normally when there's a traffic stop like that, being professional in what they do and ensuring that things do not escalate to this sort of chaos that we saw here, the officers will actually most likely place the person in handcuffs. They would utilize the handcuffs that they have and just let the person know that you are not under arrest, but we are detaining you just for a short while. And all of this could have been avoided, officer. And this is what we are saying. This is what I have been saying. Now, please go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if the other officer have come in and calm down the other guy and talk to him politely, maybe things would have gone a little different. Now, two wrong cannot make a right.
Mm-hmm.
Two wrong cannot make a right.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that the fact the weapon pulling wasn't necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the search, as long as they have reasonable cause to search the vehicle,
mm-hmm.
they could search the vehicle.
But officer, let me ask you another question.
Yes, Junior.
If the civilian, right, would have denied or he didn't give access, so you asked him to search the vehicle and he said no, because that's how it works here in New York, right? If you accept
Yeah.
and you say, okay, go ahead and search, go ahead, do what you want to do, and you accept, the police have full reign to go and search. But if the civilian says, no, I do not want you to search my vehicle, doesn't the police officer then have to go and obtain a warrant if there's no justifiable anything in sight that they could see that he committed a crime or committed a crime?
If there is no justifiable cause,
Right.
they can search it like that. They must have a warrant.
Right. So they are wrong in this instant because he did not give them permission to search the vehicle.
Yeah, but if for instance, if they like, for example, when you stop a vehicle, you gotta be very polite to the individual.
Yes.
You cannot just stop a vehicle and just rush the vehicle like that. You go, you say good afternoon, sir, or good afternoon, madam, and you identify yourself.
Yes.
As an officer first.
Yes.
So and female, you must identify yourself. And then you have to tell them the reason why you're searching that vehicle.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You don't just go and just stop them and say, oh, I need to search that vehicle. No, you have to give them the reason why.
So from what you're saying there, the police officer was wrong. The approach was wrong initially. He did not give them he didn't give them the okay to search the vehicle, and they didn't have a warrant. So where are they right in this? They're wrong from the beginning.
Junior, you see, we need to hear from the gentleman, the motorist. What was the reason? If there was a reason given to him,
we need a third party.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we need him.
I got it. Let me try to make that call right now. I have to make a call on the WhatsApp. Caller from the UK. I know you're on WhatsApp. I have to make a call to the gentleman for us guests. So if you could call back in 5 minutes. I'm sorry I had you on hold, but just call back. Okay, stand by. All right. Okay. Thank you, caller. Let me try to reach out to Troy right now because I see he's been sending me some voice note. I'm unable to hear it, to read it back. Let me see if I could bring him on the live right now.
And Junior, whilst you're trying to get on to Troy, let me just say that when I just mentioned what normally happens in America, where police actually utilize their handcuffs to detain persons, that same law applies right here in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique for the person who is saying that this is Grenada law, it's different to the US laws. If we have a look at the laws of Grenada, the police do have a right to detain a person for up to 48 hours. So the handcuffs could have been used there. What I did was not quote American laws, but quote international laws that are applicable right here in Grenada, right? So, Junior, yes, I just wanted to say that. Also, I mean, we are not saying that the civilian was correct. We are not saying that the police officer was the only person at fault, right? We have already established that they were both aggressive and the actions of both parties is not what was expected by society, by the standards of society. So what we are saying, if one goes into a courthouse and is aware of what happens there, naturally and normally, if one has a profession, for example, a teacher or a police officer, and in this case, it's a police officer, normally higher expectations from that person, right, will be warranted. So normally you would hear the magistrate or the judge saying that, look, this officer or this person should know better than that. Now, if we actually looking at the laws are saying to us, Section 13, Part 2, that the officer has to remain in any situation, right, cool, calm, and he has to be using his discretion. That is what the laws of Grenada are saying. Now, by looking at the video, is there anyone that can say that this officer remained calm in the situation? This comes with the territory, having persons putting up resistance with police officers. It comes with the territory, right? People do not always just walk away with the police, swinging hands. Sometimes resistance must be expected, and the way that the officer deals with the situation will determine a lot what the way we speak to how professional law officers or whatever the case is.
Yes, yes.
Yes, Junior, go ahead.
I want to play. I'm still trying to get Troy on here, but I would just want to play a voice note that he just sent me. And this it goes a little something like this.
Judge, this is Troy here, right? Me and the police, I don't know the police like that, right? Me and all the RUs are good friends, but I don't know this particular officer like that to see me and him have any things before or anything like that.
All right, that's what he said so far. I'm still trying to get him connected so he could give us some more details. And we also have Ruggles Ferguson, who's going to be coming in a little bit. Guys, let's just take a little breather. And when we come back, we'll make all the connections with all of our guests and put everything into perspective. Don't go nowhere. We will be right back. Don't move.
Are you fed up of your mask or your foggy face shield? Introducing the Fashion Shield from callallpronow.com. Keep your hairdo intact, your makeup flawless, and be fully protected. Get the Fashion Shield now. Call 516-387-4246 or visit callallpronow.com.
We can't hear you, Junior.
Sorry, yeah, you're watching Right Along live. We try to put everything into perspective, guys, all right? And we trying just to get just like a vantage point from what actually happened in this situation here. We did schedule to have Troy on the program. He had an emergency. However, we're trying to see if he could just give us some perspective. He may not be able to stay for the whole 20 minutes. Probably could give us 4 or 5 minutes. And that's what we're trying to do. So bear with me for a quick second, and let me see if we could make that happen right now. Earl, just talk to the audience a little bit, and I'm going to switch my mic off and try to see if I could connect with Troy.
All right, no problem. All right, so basically what we had here.
Hello?
Now, the argument was arranged, which I presented with higher expectations of the police officer, resorting to the end by pulling a firearm to deal with a situation. Now, I became very concerned about that situation, considering the fact that the aggressor, the motorist, civilian, did not have any evidence. There was no evidence of him having a weapon. And the police officer, instead of resorting to asking his colleagues for assistance to restrain the gentleman, to use his handcuffs, or to use mace, or to use a baton, went directly to pulling a firearm and cranking a firearm, something that could end the life of a next person. That was my issue. Now, if somebody makes a post about the importance of, let us say, of feeding 500 children, that does not mean that that person is in agreement with destroying Mother Nature. It does not mean that that person does not also have any concern about what we call global warming. So there have been many persons who are saying that we are picking on the police. We're not picking on the police. We expect our police officers, especially as important as they are, we expect them to follow the laws, to honor the laws, and to act professionally. And one of the issues that I do have is the fact that on any given day, Junior, somebody might walk into KFC, and because a KFC worker or wherever else might see him as one of the lower paid jobs in the country, you know, and that person might make a mistake with our order. Instead of delivering 2 fries and a drink, they might put 1 fry and half a drink. And the way that some persons will treat them because service that they have paid for has not been delivered. Now, why should we allow some police officers or any police officer to get away with services which have not been handed over to the taxpayer?
Yeah, yeah. Guys, let me just report real quick that a lot has happened within this 45 minutes that we've been on the air, and I'm trying to follow it up with what's happening behind the scenes as we try to get Troy to just give us a understanding as to what happened before and what happened a little bit after, and that's what we're trying to do. Yeah, we're working through this right now, and that's why I'm manning the phone lines, but it hasn't happened yet. I'm expecting a call back from him so we could hear his perspective. And we also have to say here, Earl, that this is one side of the story, and a story always have multiple sides. Especially, we haven't heard the police officer's side, so we cannot make any judgment. But I want to bring in a legal expert. His name is Ruggles Ferguson. He is our, as we say, he always here to give us some insight as it relates to anything legal. Ruggles, could you hear me? Ruggles, could you hear me? Ruggles, could you hear me? All right, let's try this again. Ruggles, could you hear me? Ruggles, Ruggles, are you hearing me? All right, let's work on Ruggles' connection. There, guys, you're watching Right Along live, and we're trying to make the connection again. A lot happening behind the scenes.
Hello,
Yeah,
hi,
Ruggles,
good
could you hear me?
evening,
Are you hearing me?
Junior. Is that Mr. Maitland I'm seeing there?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson, good day.
Hi, are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yeah, we're hearing you kind of crack up, but could you hear me, Ruggles?
Maybe some feedback.
Okay, go
Are
out
you
and come back
hearing me
in,
at
Ruggles.
all?
Yeah, go out and come back in.
Hi, I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. Okay, so we're hearing each other. So let's.
Hi, good evening.
Yes. Good evening, Ruggles. Ruggles, here's there's a bit of a connection problem. Oh, we lost him. But what I really want to find out from Ruggles and the legal expert in Grenada is what constitute or what does a police officer, what is the right of a police officer and what is the right of a civilian in terms of stop and search procedures? And what right does a civilian have in the case that they are being stopped and potentially searched by police officers? This would help a lot because people would understand their rights and what they could do and what they can't. Let's try Ruggles again. Ruggles, are you hearing me? Ruggles, are you there? All right, we're not getting Ruggles too clear. Let's go on for air, guys, and let's try to rectify this problem. We'll be right back. You're watching Right Along Live.
Hearing you clearly.
Hungry, grab a snack.
Yeah, are you hearing me at all? Are you hearing?
Caribbean food delight.
Yeah. Sorry, somebody.
Caribbean food delight. Take a bite. Caribbean food delight.
All right, guys, we're back, and we have Ruggles, and we have Earl, and we also have Troy on the line here. So let's see how much we could get of this. Troy, are you hearing me?
But we will not.
Hello? All right, we lost Troy as well on the live. All kind of thing going wrong today, guys, but we try to rectify it. Ruggles, are you there? Ruggles, could you hear me? All right, we having problem with Ruggles connecting with us as well. He has to put his phone on the probably Wi-Fi because his data is kind of weak. All right, Earl, let's talk a bit, right? As far as you are, I know you're very familiar with the law of Grenada, and I want people that's watching to have an idea as to what are some of their rights when a police officer stop them. What are some of the things that they should expect, and what are some of the things that they have a right to reject in this police officer case? Based on your knowledge, Earl, what are those things? As it relates to stop and search. Let's speak specifically on stop and search.
Right. So, first of all, police officers do have a right to search, as we already established, without a warrant, based on reasonable cause, reasonable suspicion. That is law, that is factual. Secondly, when the officers approach you, what we should expect is some level of professionalism. But in the event that does not occur,
Are you hearing
or in the
me
event,
at all?
yes, we're hearing you. We're hearing you.
Okay, Ruggles, could you hear us now?
Are you hearing me?
Yes, Ruggles, we could hear you. Are you hearing us? All right. Go ahead, Earl. I'll work on behind the scenes.
Yeah. So in the event that that level of professionalism that the officer does not identify his or herself, or say what station they are attached to, or the purpose of the stop, in the event that that does not happen, I will advise any civilian, any motorist, to comply with the police. Comply with the police, and then you have a right to refuse certain things. But sometimes you have to ask yourself, is it really worth it? What can I do? Now, I would advise persons, if you are having difficulty, right? You call 911, or you call somebody, or you take out your phone and you start recording, right? Because the evidence will be necessary. Now, in the event that that does not happen, you have a right to go to any police station according to Regulation 116 of the Police Act. You have a right to go to any police station and make a complaint if you believe that your rights have been violated by the police officer. Now, there's also the CRD department. The CRD department is right at the foot of Fort George. One can simply take a bus to the market and walk up those steps, or walk up to the hospital hill, go to CRD, and as I said, you do have a right to give a statement. When you do give the statement, you have to follow up on your statement according to the laws. If the police officer that you are reporting is under the rank of sergeant, and the commissioner of police has the authority to deal or to discipline the officer according to regulation 32 or 33, right? If he's above the rank, he or she is above the rank of sergeant, then the Public Service Commission has a right to deal with that issue. There's also the Ombudsman's Office, and I do know, I am aware that we do not have proper functioning institutions to deal with these types of things here in Grenada. So there are lawyers that one can also go to, but I would not recommend that anyone acts the way the gentleman acted, by being aggressive and so forth. I would not recommend that. There is a time to stand your ground, and there is a time sometimes to live a next day. Which would you rather? Would you rather be shot by a police officer? Would you rather live a next day and make a report? Now, I personally assist persons with making complaints against police officers, because we simply cannot allow police officers or peace officers, public servants, to break the laws of our nation. We cannot allow that. We also wish to encourage that persons educate themselves as to what the laws are and what their rights are. The laws are online, the Constitution is online, the Police Act is online. If you were to call a police station and ask a question, the police are going to give you an answer. Call the police force and ask them, do I have a right to stop this person from searching me? If an officer comes to you, 911 is a free call. There is no reason to get hype and so on. A gun was pulled, as we have seen. Someone could have died. We could have been discussing something totally different. We have to remember that we are not always dealing with professionals. The expectations of society are not always met by persons in the public service.
Yeah. What about when people say comply and complain? Do you think that that would have worked in this situation right here? Comply with the police officer and complain later.
Mhm. I think it would have been more welcoming. It would have been easier. We would have been having a different conversation here today. But there has been a video that was circulated this morning with a red bus. I'm not sure if you saw it, Junior. A gentleman, I believe the number plate on the bus is HO41, where that gentleman was actually accepting a ticket for a cracked number plate. And the police officer, upon recognizing that the bus driver, the bus owner, actually pulled out his phone and was recording him, that officer decided to arrest the gentleman for disorderly conduct. Now, what I did, I immediately, after receiving the video, I called the community relations department and I informed them of this new video that is circulating, and it does seem to me, from my reasonable opinion, with the little knowledge I have, that this officer has illegally detained this gentleman. Mr. Ferguson is here. There's also the right of a person who is illegally detained under the Constitution and other laws where that person can get a lawyer and go to the courts and be compensated for being illegally detained. So that will be the civil side. And Mr. Ferguson, if his internet was a bit better, he would have been able to acknowledge this fact, right? So it's there in the Constitution, it is there, but once again, that show that I normally do, Junior, as you mentioned it earlier, every Monday, I actually teach the laws of Grenada, particularly the Police Act. And that has been going on for the last couple of years. Because people really need to understand that the police have a role in society and the police are important and they do have jobs to do. And a person could be charged for obstruction and so forth. Mr. Ferguson, we are seeing you clearer, sir.
Yeah, I just pull him in on Zoom. Ruggles, could you hear us now? Okay, Ruggles, you have to unmute yourself now. Ruggles, you have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. Yes, I'm hearing now.
Okay, good.
Is that
good.
my friend, Mr. Maitland? I'm hearing there.
Yes.
Maitland on?
Yes, he is.
Good afternoon.
He is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, Ruggles.
Good evening to you, Mr. Maitland.
Good afternoon.
Yes. Ruggles, thanks again for joining us.
Sorry, I was in a meeting earlier, so I'm a bit late.
No problem. That's fine. But I think that your presence here would answer a lot of questions that we have in mind. Now, let's talk about stop and search as it relates to Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, right? What is the right of a civilian when approached by a police officer to search the vehicle?
Well, let me start off by putting these issues in context, because the starting point for a discussion on such issues is the Constitution. and fundamental rights and freedoms. So the Constitution, I believe it's Section 7, protects one from arbitrary search and entry onto one's premises. And that's why when, for example, a police officer wishes to enter a home to search for whatever items one is looking for, whether it's drugs, arms, ammunition, allegedly stolen items, then you have a warrant, a search warrant that is authorized by a judicial officer to do so, that authorizes you to search. In other words, the police officer can't just walk in and search. The situation differs if, for example, the police officer is in the hot pursuit of an alleged suspect. And when I say hot pursuit, is running behind that suspect, and that suspect runs into a house, and the police then enters the house in hot pursuit of that person. So there are those fundamental rights. Now, as we always say, fundamental rights are balanced. They are not absolute, and you have to balance them against the interests of defense, public order, security issues, and so the Constitution would impose those limitations. So now you always have a tension now between those rights and the obligations, let's say, of police officers to keep the peace. And notice when I spoke about search, and what the Constitution speaks to is arbitrary search. So, for example, a police officer is not expected to just in an arbitrary manner say, well, listen, I want to search you, do this, do that. There must be some reasonable suspicion or some reasonable cause that forms the basis of wanting to do a search in the first place. Sometimes there are these spot checks. Police are out on special operations, and there may be some activity or something, and there is a stop and search in those circumstances. Even then there are possible issues, but in the interest of security, there is no necessarily discriminatory application to it as a particular operation.
Right.
So searching, let me just indicate, I've heard about this, but I heard about an incident. I have, seen a tape, not in any detailed way, just looked at it briefly.
Right.
Because I was in an activity then. So I am not, I suppose that is what motivated this discussion.
Yes.
But I have not seen the entire, what started it. So, I mean, what I say is about general principles and not giving a specific view about any particular incident.
But this is good education. This is good education for our viewers, right? Because I want civilians to know their rights. It's important that they understand their right. And I want to be very clear, as if the police has the jurisdiction to pull up to someone and their personal property, which is a vehicle, and request to search or demand to search the vehicle. If the civilian have right to say, no, I do not want you to search my vehicle, does the civilian have right to do that?
Right. No, it must not stop at I want to do a search, right? The basis, just like detaining an individual. In detaining an individual, a police officer just can't say, well, come with me to the station. I'm a police officer, come with me to the station. The individual has a right to know why he's being asked to to be accompanied to accompany the police officer to the station, and police officer or an individual whose vehicle is being searched has a right to know why the particular search is being conducted. Because if there is some reasonable, and that is the operative word, there must be some kind of reasonable suspicion,
right,
that would cause the police to act in such a way, and therefore it must be indicated to the person who is the driver of the vehicle, who is in control of the vehicle, that one has reasonable suspicion to believe that there are drugs in a vehicle, or there are arms and ammunition in a vehicle, and on the basis of that suspicion, based on whatever the police operation is all about, then they want to conduct that search. It cannot just be, I want to search, full stop, and because I'm a police officer, then I have the authority to search. The authority of police officers are based on what is referred to the common law, the law that has laws that have evolved over the years, and also by statute.
right,
So, for example, there's a police act. There's a police act, and the police act speaks to the powers and duties of police officers. Now, the law in the United States but is different to some of these countries, like Grenada, for example. In the United States, there is the fruit of the poison tree principle. So, for example, if a search is conducted and the search is illegal, then whatever flows from that illegal search is also illegal.
Right.
And that's why it's referred to as the fruit of the poison tree. So it comes from an illegal search. Whatever evolves from that is therefore poisonous and illegal. In our jurisdiction, and there were even recent cases on that it matters not how it is found. That if it emanates from an illegal search, contrary to what happens in the United States, it can still be used.
I see.
In other words, it's not the fruit of the poison tree principle.
Right.
So everything is based on reasonableness. So for example, during an operation, a police officer may have made certain observations, and based on those observations, there is a reasonable suspicion created that somebody is involved in illegal activity or maybe in possession of drugs. In that moment, then once there is reasonable cause, then you can't wait to get a search warrant in those circumstances because of the the practical circumstances that you face. In those circumstances, then there could be a proper basis to do a search of the person or of the vehicle.
Right.
But it cannot be just arbitrarily that, listen, I want to search, and that is the case.
Right.
And that is why police officers have certain powers under the law.
Right.
But what courts and things as constitutional rights and so, what courts seek to ensure is that those powers are not abused.
Right.
The powers of arrest are not abused. The powers of search are not abused.
Yes. Okay, let me ask you this question, Ruggles. Let me put it like this. The police officer could be seen in the video pulling out his service revolver and cracking it, right? Getting it ready. I don't know what his finger was. It doesn't really matter. He pulled out his service revolver after an altercation that was not the same force. So the other guy didn't pull out his gun, and then the police officer pulled out his gun. They had some kind of argument, which seemed like an altercation, and then the police officer pulled out his gun. By right, did the police officer operate in a lawful manner in doing that?
Right. And let me maybe again, Junior, just outline the general principles, because again, in reaching a conclusion, one does not know how far this may possibly go. So I don't want to say or do anything that can prejudice in any way what happens subsequently. But everything depends on the circumstances of each case.
Right.
Every matter. So what may be wrong in circumstances A might be right in circumstances B.
Okay, so
it depends on the circumstances.
In what circumstance would a police officer by right have to pull out his service revolver?
Right. So and that's exactly what I'm coming to. Now it's where force is involved in anything, there is what is referred to in the law as justifiable force.
Right.
Whether based on the facts that are presented, there was any justification or any, for example, reasonable cause on the part of an officer, and I'm not again referring necessarily to the incident, but using the incident as the basis for the questions posed. Whether or not at the time a police officer pulls his service revolver based on the circumstances presenting the circumstances as presented then, he was under a reasonable apprehension that there would be some imminent harm coming to him because of the particular circumstances.
Imminent harm. I want to give it very layman term. When you say imminent harm, it could be imminent harm by the person that is not the same force, like imminent harm in the person might put up their fists, right? The person don't have a weapon, the person might put up their fist and say they want to fight with you. Does that constitute imminent harm to the individual? So that mean that they should draw the revolver? What is imminent harm in this particular situation?
Right. And everything here is there is both, there is the objective aspect and there is the subjective aspect. The issue of imminent harm, if, for example, you as an officer or an individual believe based on what is happening around you, there is some possibility, and where I say imminent, I mean imminent in this case means about to happen.
Right.
That if you don't take defensive measures, certain harm would be meted out to you. At the end of the day, did those circumstances, and that's the question, did those circumstances as they occur, as they unfolded, based on what was being said, what was being done, warrant the officer in those circumstances pulling out a gun because he expected what happening next, what was about to happen, could have caused imminent harm.
I guess we have to explain what is harm then, because harm could be somebody slap you in the back of your neck and you claim that is harm. So, a harm could be somebody punch you in the nose, or harm could be somebody pull out a knife and stab you. So what is harm? Right. How do you identify harm?
Right. Harm, and remember, we speak about harm in the context of it has not happened. So, for example, if you believe that somebody is going to punch you in the eye or punch you in the face, I'm just using an arbitrary example.
Right.
And of course, you won't wait until you get the punch. You either move away from the scene or you take whatever defensive measures you believe in the circumstances would best protect you.
Whatever you mean. So if that means using excessive force, that is a measure that you could take, because you're supposed to have
not excessive force, right? Well, that's the point. That's
right.
the point. Yeah, are we dealing here with the pulling out of a revolver, a pistol, here, and holding it for protective purposes, or that would be different from using the revolver because and just shooting because one is angry, and that is why police officers again must exercise restraint. And as I say, I haven't watched the video. I've seen it, but I haven't watched it carefully. But what I remember seeing, and I only saw it once for a brief period, is that there was somebody who was there. I'm not too sure whether it's an officer or a civilian, who was trying, in fact, more than one individual, trying to cool down tempers. Cool down tempers. And that's an important role for third parties, because you see, at the end of the day, where there is anger on the one hand and the presence of a gun, anything can happen in a split moment. Anything can happen, and the results could be different. But hopefully, in these circumstances, I'm not too sure what the end result was, that nobody was the recipient of actual harm.
Right. They said that the Troy guy said that the police officer, after the altercation, what happened is they just left. So they didn't make an arrest. They didn't do anything. In fact, in the video, you could clearly see, which I'm going to play back at the end of the of the program, you could clearly see that the officer that was very aggressive, he ended up handing over his firearm to the female police officer. And that could be in plain sight. The other thing, which was very, very, it was clear to see, was that if they deemed the civilian as such a major threat, why did everybody turn their backs on him? Like, they didn't put him in handcuff, they didn't arrest him, they didn't put him in the patrol vehicle, they turned their back on him. So if somebody is such an imminent harm, you wouldn't turn your back on them. So that clearly showed that the civilian didn't show that he was harmed, or he is a threat to the police.
Right.
Unless that particular police officer single-handedly felt that he was a threat to him. And that's my understanding of looking at reading between the lines of the video. Everybody else didn't feel threatened besides that particular police officer. Now, if you look at George Floyd's situation, I don't want to bring in this into it, but if you look at George Floyd's situation, right, the police officers was protecting Chauvin. They was protecting him. And he was killing a man, but they still were protecting him. In this case, he was the opposite. They wasn't protecting the police officer. They was actually cooling down the police officer and almost protecting the civilian. It was completely different here. I just want to know if the police officer was justified pulling his firearm after a civilian, because you don't pull a gun unless you intend to use it. You don't pull a gun and go and drink ice cream. You pull a gun for one reason. That is why you pull your gun. You don't pull your gun to go and play hopscotch, and I just want to understand if legally he might find himself in some hot water for pulling his gun at the civilian for no right justifiable reason from a legal perspective. I just want to understand if that would
just let me ask you just for clarification, after he pulled it, did he point it, or did he say anything? Did he say anything after, because all of these elements constitute the circumstances that obtain. Did he point it at him in any way or say anything to him?
He didn't point it at him, but he did say, and Earl, you could come in here at any point. He did say that if you hit me again, or if you
touch me,
if you touch me again, it's something. It was kind of inaudible at some point. Go ahead, Earl.
Basically, Mr. Ferguson, what had happened? The officer, he turned his back.
Where this happened? This happened here.
In Grenada.
In Grenada.
In Grenada.
Okay,
Yeah.
which part?
Junior.
I don't know the exact location.
Okay, but it happened in Grenada.
It happened in Grenada.
Yeah, it happened in Grenada.
Mm-hmm.
The officer and the civilian, they were having. There was a lot of aggression coming from the civilian. Then the civilian said to the officer, you want to fight, I'm going to beat you. And then he used the term, right, Mr. Ferguson?
Sorry, you used what? Sorry?
The A term, the 3-letter A word that I would not say over the program, you know?
Okay.
And he put his hands in the face of the officer. He did not touch him. And then the officer turned his back, which leaves me to believe that he did not feel that it was an imminent threat, right? The officer walked away, pulled out a firearm, and he cranked it. Then he had it pointed at the ground. It was at that moment the next officer who was on the scene, he walked over, he placed his hand on the chest of the officer, as you can see here, apparently trying to calm him down. So that is what has happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, at the end of the day, then people will be the judge of it. I am just saying, what are the yardsticks used to from a legal standpoint to measure what happened? Because the principle in law, the principle of proportionality is important. In other words, what you do must be proportional to what you face. So at the end of the day, if somebody, and I'm just using an arbitrary example, points his hand in your face, then that's not a justification to shoot. If somebody is coming at you with a knife and say, I will kill you, then those are different circumstances. So the issue, and for the law, it's always about reasonable force, about justifiable force, about force that is proportional or proportionate to the circumstances that you face.
Yeah.
And it takes into account acts done, words said, and whatever gesticulations and these things. But what I really I think it was important to say again, in circumstances like this, and it goes for everybody, the civilian, the police officer, the spectators, the people are wrong. The first step is to really to try to cool down the situation, because what you could have had in circumstances like those is to somebody mortally wounded, badly wounded, somebody dead, and all in the space of seconds, because it presented the perfect opportunity for the loss of self-control. And just from the little that I saw very briefly, and while even doing something, what I saw is that a very agitated civilian and a very agitated police officer.
Yeah.
And that is a recipe for disaster.
For disaster, you're right. You're so right. You're so right.
It is a recipe, and whoever I recall, there were people present trying to cool down both parties, which is probably what saved the day. And in circumstances like those, in particular, police officers have an extra obligation, a higher duty, not to get or to avoid as far as possible open anti or fueling confrontation and further confrontation by what is done. In fact, what the role of the police officer as far as possible there. So if the individual is doing things and saying things that constitute an offense, then in a very calm way, in fact, a calm police officer, as I always say, sometimes based on experience, can be more dangerous and lethal than an agitated officer. Because an agitated officer provides the excuse and a distraction. The agitation in itself is a distraction. The calm, experienced officer acts. He would lay the charges, somebody getting on, saying things. Some people abuse police officers. They curse them, they insult them. And at the end of the day, you charge them.
Yeah.
Right? You charge them. And it is possible. Charges are not laid just, everybody don't have to be arrested necessarily.
Yeah.
If you know somebody and they're committing an offense, especially if it's a summary offense, insulting language, obscene language as the case may be, and it may be based on those circumstances there, too dangerous to try to arrest a person.
Yeah.
Then you get them by summons after.
Yeah.
Basically, and it's the same charge. The only thing is that you have not arrested them. But of course, if they're committing an arrestable offense, you have the power to arrest. But it is important that police officers in particular exercise restraint, especially in the context of, having weapons and being able to use weapons, because once you let that anger get the best of you and control of you, then, as the saying goes, any number can play, and at the end of the day, people in mourning, and when things cool down, everybody's sorry about it. So, it is extremely important to learn from these lessons, and two, it's important for civilians, irrespective of what you may feel about a police officer.
Yes.
And there are many ways to deal with it. If a police officer is not acting in a way that is proper or does something illegal, then it provides the basis for you.
Yeah.
To take action.
I want to open up the phone lines because there are a lot of people who want some clarification on their rights still. It's a big question, and I think that more has to be done to, and I know you do a lot, Ruggles, to give people clarification on the law. But still, ignorance of the law is no it's not a reason, no excuse anyway. So it's important that people understand, and I know we have a lot of people on the line right now that wants to ask questions as it relates to citizens' rights. We're going to open up the phone lines right now for anyone who wants to call in real quick to ask Ruggles if you want to speak, and if you have any questions for Earl Maitland as well, you could do that. The number that you call is 718-701-5720. Way over time, and I also want to apologize up early because we did plan and schedule and promoted to have Troy on the live. However, he got into some accident and he were unable to speak to us directly. However, there was one statement that he sent to us on WhatsApp, which we played earlier. I could play it again. and we weren't able to contact him after that point. So we apologize that we couldn't get him on to speak to us and answer all the questions as it relates to him and the particular individual and how they know each other and all of these things. I know you guys have a ton of questions to ask. We weren't able to do that at this moment, so we may have to just do like a short video and put it out there. A short interview, we'll have to do that because I know you guys want to hear from him as well. If you do call, well, I'm doubtful because it's 7:29 now. We're about to wrap up. It's kind of late already. If you do call, somehow we'll try to get his point of view, but I think that we'll schedule to do like a short interview and post it on the page. Earl, anything else you want to say or ask?
I'll make a statement. Too many times when persons, especially on Facebook, when they do not get the answers that they are looking for, the opinions that they are looking for, they become very hateful and bashful and disrespectful. That is not the way that we should be exhibiting anything, right? Or common sense or reason. We should try to gather as much information as we possibly can and look at the laws, for instance, and then we would be able to come to a proper conclusion. And when things are being explained, right, we should take the time to listen and understand so that level or that absence of knowledge would not determine whatever conclusion that you would be coming with. Yes, Junior, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Ruggles, any any last word you want to leave with as it relates to that piece of the legislation, that piece of the law, that piece of the constitution, as it relates to stop and search? Any more clarification you want to give us on that agenda item or that line item?
Yeah, well, as I indicated earlier, the Constitution provides certain fundamental rights and freedoms. It starts with the right to life, the protection against deprivation of property. Those who are familiar with right to freedom of expression, right to freedom of association and assembly, protection against discrimination, freedom of movement, protection from arbitrary search and entry. And so all of these are categorized not just as ordinary rights, but as fundamental rights. Those are rights that cannot be taken away, and they are enshrined in the Constitution. And no right is absolute, and there are always tensions. There are always tensions between fundamental rights and limitations on these fundamental rights. And there will always be. There will always be, for example, tensions between police officers who have a particular role to play in society and individuals, because the police, the role of the police in keeping the peace and maintaining public order, again, is not an easy role, and there will always be those tensions. And what I can say is that one has to try to avoid as best as possible the escalation of these tensions in circumstances as was obtained in that video.
Yes.
Whether it's on the part of the civilian or whether it's in the part of the officer, because you don't know where it can escalate and where it can lead to. Somebody will be end up being right, and somebody may end up being wrong, but somebody may end up also being dead as a result of somebody being wrong and the actions taken in the height of these tensions. As I say, I try to avoid commenting directly on it because I don't know where it will go, and you know what can possibly emerge out of it, both for the civilian and the police officer. And what I do on occasions like these is to try to, inform and educate on what the law is,
Right.
and how the law approaches matters like those.
Right. Okay.
So, yes.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Earl Maitland, Mr. Ruggles Ferguson, as always, taking that last minute call and giving us some further clarification on this matter. We appreciate you guys. Earl, thanks again. And Mr. Ruggles Ferguson, thank you, sir. And we're going to absolutely keep in touch. Okay?
All right, take care.
All right.
Mr. Ferguson, good night.
Yes. Good night, Mr. Maitland.
All right.
Seeing you.
All right. Good night, guys. All right. All right, guys. So let me apologize again from the top because, again, we did schedule to have Troy on the line. He did have an emergency. And all through the program, we tried to get him on, but that did not happen. Because I think that he was on one end the best person to tell this story, because there's still unanswered questions, right? Because myself, you, just a few other people was there at the point in time, but nobody really know what happened before, so we cannot basically conclude on it because we don't understand the full extent of what happened prior, and we don't really even know what happened after the video, between that time frame when the video was on and then the video was off, right? So he was the best person, and we made ample time to get him on the program. We got clearance from him. We put out the flyer, and it was all good. Not until about 5 minutes before we came on, he asked if we could reschedule the program because he had an emergency. But we couldn't reschedule the program. We couldn't not do a program at all. We did have scheduled to come on Ruggles Ferguson and Earl Maitland, so that's why they were on. But Troy was also expected to be on as well, and we want to apologize for him not being present on the live here today. But nevertheless, he did make a statement. He sent us a quick statement, and he said this.
Judge, this is
hold on. This is the voice note that he sent to us earlier. I'll play back for you really quickly.
Judge, this is Troy here, right? Me and the police, I don't know the police like that, right? Me and all the RUs are good friends, but I don't know this particular officer like that to see me and him have any things before or anything like that.
All right, so that was the information that we got from Troy, and we'll keep you guys in touch. We'll keep you guys abreast of what's happening here. Oh boy. All right, guys, also I want to say, right, that no law is absolute, and Ruggles said it, and it's true. Like, there's freedom of speech, yeah, but you can't go on a plane and scream fire, fire, fire. Huh? It's not absolute, right? You could get locked up for that. There are rights that's given to civilians, and the police have rights. But when I look at the whole video, based on what I see, again, I don't know all the beginning, I don't know how it all the way it ended, but I think, in my conclusion of this, and that's just at face value, there was aggression on both sides, and I was fearful that police officer would have doomed himself. His anger would have doomed him, because sometimes when you get so angry, you don't think about nothing else, right? You're just like on a flight, you're on a high jet, and that's what anger does. And I was scared that police officer, his anger would have get the best of him. I think the police officer should be held in a higher regard than the civilian, because for one, the police officer is supposed to be trained. He's given a firearm, and you have to have, in order for the state to give you a firearm, they have to analyze and know that you are a person that can handle that firearm, right? You could make the proper judgment with a firearm. Just like kids. Yeah, kids grow and they reach to a point where, you don't allow them in the kitchen, because if you allow them in the kitchen, they might turn on the stove. But the minute time you allow them into the kitchen is because you trust that they could handle themselves and don't turn on the stove and burn down the whole house. So I say all of this to say that the police officer should be held in that higher regard, and I think he let his anger get the best of him, or the worst of him, right? At the same time, I think the civilian Troy And he also admitted that to me, that he should not have acted that way. He should not have acted with all that anger. And I think he admitted, and something could have gone terribly, terribly, terribly wrong. Terribly, terribly, terribly wrong. Here who I applaud in this scenario right here. I applaud the other police officers, because far too long we see police officers getting away with murder, Jed. Their partner doing crap, and I don't know if they endorse what they're doing or not. They just watch it go by because that's a police officer standing up for another police officer. Sometimes they know that it's wrong, but in this particular case, I commend the other police officers who didn't just sit by and watch this thing just go crazy. They cool him down. And in the end of the video, at the complete end of the video, you see what happened? If you guys look closely, if you guys look at this really, really closely, let me bring this video all the way to the end, right? Look at this. Look at this. The police officer handed over the gun over to the female police officer. He handed over the gun to the female police officer. So he didn't even trust himself. He didn't even trust himself. And that is a serious thing. That is a serious thing. But there's still more that could be learned from this situation right here. I personally would recommend disciplinary action. If I had the heir to the authorities, disciplinary action for the police officer. And if the police officer deem that Troy acted in a way that was against any law, or he broke the law, or he did anything, they should arrest him. But they didn't arrest him. So obviously he didn't break the law in the eyes of the law. But the police officer, I think he needs some anger management. Yeah, that's what I think. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for being a part of our program today. And I wanna welcome. We have a new advertiser. We have a new advertiser on Ridealong. The name is All Pro Health, and they have this new product right here. You guys can see through this. This is what they call the. I don't know if you guys could see through it. This is the face shield, right? There's a clear one. I look crazy in it, but it's like, you can't even see through it really. But it's non-fogging, and it's a really cool face shield. They call it the fashion shield. So for the ladies who want to wear the fashion shield, they just came on board, and I wanted to big them up. You could get these fashion shields if you go to allpronow.com. And this fashion shield, as they say, it doesn't fog up, and it has different colors. So guys, if you want to get this fashion shield, we want to big up our new advertiser who just came on board, who have this new fashion shield. I want you guys to check it out at callallpronow.com. That's callallpronow.com, and pick one up. Mention Ridealong. I think they have some discount or something if you mention Ridealong. Some coupon code or whatever if you mention Ridealong. But this is really cool for the ladies. I know you guys want to smudge your makeup and stuff like that, and fashion shield. Thank you, Call All Pro Now for coming on board. Also, guys, what else? Oh, this is another thing I want to tell you guys. If you have a business, right? If you have a business, whether it's a brand new business, a business that's from 1 to 5 years old, and you need some additional funding, you need some money to help your business, you have a bottleneck and you need some assistance, some financial assistance, Ridealong Live is partnering with some good friends to we're making $1,000 available to one business. So if you have a business and you need some financial assistance, we are going to be giving you $1,000 cash, right, to kick your new business off. But you have to enter, right? In order to be a part of this business grant, you have to enter. I'm going to paste the link, but I want everybody who has thinking about starting their own business, or you started a business and you wanna kick it back up, this might be a good thing for you. $1,000 to kickstart your brand new business, or your business when you want to get it rolling. All right, we give you $1,000 cash. Hey, Spice Chick, you gotta register. You gotta register, and they'll give you everything that you need to do. And it's a very clear cut case. It gives you opportunity to show off your business, promote your business, and the winner get $1,000 US dollars cash to kickstart your new business. It's a great venture. It's an absolutely great venture, guys. And we're urging everyone who has a business to take advantage of this opportunity right now. I'm gonna paste the link. I'm gonna paste the link on the bottom of the show so you guys could register today. Like register today, because I think the registration close on the 5th. Yeah, registration close on the 5th, right? So you don't have much time, all right? $1,000 to kickstart or start your new business. It's a brand new venture by Ridealong Live. I want you, the fans, the supporters, the viewers, to take advantage of that. $1,000 US dollars to kickstart your brand new business. Also, guys, we want to. So I big up. I big up. Oh, let me show you guys the ad for this before I go on to the next thing. Let me show you guys the ad for this. Check out the ads for Fashion Shield.
Are you fed up of your mask or your foggy face shield? Introducing the Fashion Shield from callallpronow.com. Keep your hairdo intact, your makeup flawless, and be fully protected. Get the Fashion Shield now. Call 516-387-4246 or visit callallpronow.com.
Yeah, that's callallpronow.com and the Fashion Shield. We'd like to welcome them on board. If you have a business and you want to advertise, you want to market your business here and Ridealong, we'd love to have you on board. Inbox us and we'll give you some great packages how we could send your business viral. Yeah, send your business viral. Ridealong Live, we're coming back with our brunch. I spoke about it yesterday. So we're coming back with our brunch, our grab and go brunch. That's going to be in about 3 weeks. We have oil dong, pilau, cocoa tea, bakes and saltfish, the whole 9 brunch. We also have the famous potato pudding, right? That's also available as well. We'll tell you guys more about this. You have to pre-order that brunch and you grab and go, okay? That's a Ridealong Live brunch coming up. Also, guys, I'm rocking my Riders headphones today. These are the brand new Riders headphones. This is a white. You can get the Riders headphones on www.riderssong.com. That's riderssong.com. For the DJs, you can get your Riders DJ headphones. And Riders headphone is a product branded everything right here locally by Ridealong. It's our product and we want you guys to support it. When you support us, we can support the community, support riders. So far, guys, we've been really overwhelmed with support. Always in shipping out products every single day, and it's really nice. So thanks for the support, guys. If you don't have a family member, these headphones, they're wired as well as Bluetooth, right? So you pull this out, you connect it to your phone, you're listening to music, you get a phone call, you take it on your headphone. These headphones, it's no joke. All right, it's great for listening to Ridealong as well. It's great for listening to Ridealong as well. So get those Riders headphones as well as the open air concept headphones. These are the bomb. Trust me. These open air concepts, it's amazing. The sound quality is so amazing. This doesn't go inside your ear, this goes over your ear. It's available right now at riderssong.com. I sound like Home Shopping Network. For some reason, I feel like I'm like Home Shopping Network. But this is important. This is our products. This is our products. These are our products, and we thank you guys. These are riders. These were inspired by you, the riders. That's all for me today. Lacey J, how was Aruba? Aruba was amazing. I love Aruba. Probably when everything come back to normal, we go have like a fan trip to Aruba. Yeah, we go have a nice trip to Aruba. Yeah, we go do something like that because I love Aruba. We had a great time in Aruba. And everybody is really nice. People in Aruba start to rock the Riders headphones and everything. Everything's sweet. Yeah. All right, guys. Tomorrow, Battle of the Sexes. All right. Tomorrow, Wednesday, is Hum Day, Battle of the Sexes. All right. Tomorrow we have some serious topics to discuss. Serious topics to discuss, guys. Don't miss it. Tomorrow, Battle of the Sexes. It's gonna be serious. It's gonna be serious. It's gonna be real serious. Okay. Peace out, guys. Catch me tomorrow. Ride Along Live, 6 p.m. Bye bye.
Let's face it, this is not normal times, but life, it must go on. And with all these continued restrictions on get-togethers, you need a streaming company like Ridealong Media Group LLC, one that can stream to all your family members to the comfort of their own homes, both privately or publicly, you decide. One who understands your privacy, one who simply cares. So for that wedding, funeral, public or private event, choose the professional production company with the experience and quality guaranteed. Family can travel? Inquire about our seamless remote participant option. Thinking of streaming your virtual event? We handle it all. From multi-camera video production to streaming, post-production, editing, and more via Zoom, YouTube, Facebook, or any platform required. Call us and speak to our experienced professional team. 212-809-4324. That's 212-809-4324. Ridealong Media Group LLC. We're here when you need us.
Are you fed up of your mask or your foggy face shield? Introducing the Fashion Shield from callallpronow.com. Keep your hairdo intact, your makeup flawless, and be fully protected. Get the Fashion Shield now. Call 516-387-4246 or visit callallpronow.com.
Feeling hungry, grab a snack. Caribbean food delight. Jamaican patties, slide and flaky. Caribbean food delight. Taste the difference. Caribbean food delight. Grab a patty, take a bite. Caribbean food delight. Quick and easy, grab a patty, take a bite. Caribbean food delight.
Oh yeah. Come on, this is your opportunity to tap into the $7.3 trillion industry in this COVID time. Get interactive, hands-on in the Forex and crypto market. Educate yourself in this financial industry. All of this is possible right now with a multi-source income generator. This program will allow you to learn while you earn in this lucrative decentralized industry. Take advantage of this trading academy, personal development, create multi-source stream income, trading ideas in this global market, get discount travel with your own portal, bonus token backed by bitcoins, and so much more. For more information, contact Kristen Alexis at 347-834-2852 or Marisha Dash at 646-529-6570. Don't miss out on this amazing opportunity of a lifetime. Call now. What you do makes a difference, and you get to decide what difference you make.
In 2020, I was nominated for the Carlino Award, which is the award for advocacy. It just ballooned from there. I decided to become an ambassador for my area, and my goal with that relationship was to build a relationship with my local politicians here and the ones that represent in Washington, to let them know what was happening with Alzheimer's, give them information, let them know that we need their support and so forth. It just opened a whole new world of people to network with and people who felt as passionate as I did about this cause, and I still do to this day.
All Pro Health Staffing, www.allprony.com.